Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Antonio again from Still Point Ayurveda in Philadelphia. And happy solstice. Today is December 21st. And as it being December 21st, today is the solstice where we understand what the solstice is depending on the time of year, there's a winter solstice and a summer solstice. It's the positioning of the sun and its relationship to the earth. And so right now, and because of the fact that the earth is tilted on an axis, which is what gives us seasons, the sun appears to be the lowest point in the sky for us, which makes it a longer day because it's a longer night, seemingly. It's a darker time period. And then as we move forward after today, we'll start to have an increase in the sunlight again, even though it might seem like it's forever because now we're at the beginning of winter. And as we go through January and February, these are the months that can be very heavy and very dense until we get back into June, where the sun is at the highest point appearing in the sky with the most sunlight during the daytime. And so as we are part of this planet, as we're human, experience this rotation and revolving, rotation on the axis and revolving around the sun, we are susceptible to these frequencies. We are susceptible to these forces, and this is the time of year, especially when anxiety and depression are the highest, which happens to overlap with holiday seasons, and of course we add in the newer factor of this pandemic, which has been causing a lot of anxiety and depression to occur since its onset. And so there are very important things that we've been talking about the past couple sessions regarding how to manage anxiety and depression and the holidays. You know, we've talked about in the past how to pace yourselves, how to make sure you're eating your meals at consistent time each day, watching the portions, where also having to have an awareness around what time we go to sleep, and ideally going to sleep at 10 o'clock is the optimal time to sleep in order to really support proper metabolic functioning and hormonal functioning and just overall mental functioning. It all has a connection. Everything is interconnected. And also getting exercise in, ideally in the morning before 10 a.m. or before sunset of each day. Definitely not replacing meal times, and definitely not exercising after meals. There are very specific rules in Ayurveda, and Ayurveda has been established for several thousands of years, perfected as a medical science, as a science with adaptable principles that, when practiced properly, will provide the most optimal positive outcomes, which is health and well-being. And this is also going to influence the mind. We already know in Western sciences that when people go to nature, go hiking and go camping and just unplug from their day-to-day typical activities and have time to reset, there truly is a reset of the nervous system and the mind and the senses. And so when we are more aligned with the natural forces, then we are more likely to have better health. So even if we have issues with our health and we are more aligned with health as much as possible, it's this fine dance between making sure that we're doing the basic practices each day of eating and sleeping and exercising and pooping and peeing and sweating and, things that we're engaging with that support the senses in a more positive way, things that aren't going to be deranging the senses, like for instance looking at a computer screen all day long and just really being attached to electrical or electronic devices. This definitely has a negative effect on the nervous system. And so Ayurveda talks about really connecting with a lot of the basic things that we overlook. We're sleeping in late, we're staying up late, we're hungry, not hungry, skipping meals, improvising meals for, power smoothies or protein shakes and all these things, and these are all incorrect. The body requires the basics, and it also requires consistency for health. And also we have to find time for ourselves to pause, to reflect, to go inward, to disconnect from the daily, overstimulation of things. And if you're understimulated, And if you're just sitting on a couch because you haven't been able to work because of COVID circumstances or whatever, finding something else to redirect the mind. The deeper you are into this kind of murky place when the mind is like in a depressed state, or when it's in a heightened state, you need the opposite. So if you're in a murky state, then you have to somehow find a will within yourself. It starts as a small fraction of, intention, a seed, a momentum, just to get up and do something. Find some sort of passion. Create a passion if you're not sure about what your passion is. And try to get the momentum going. Redirect the mind, because the mind and the body are interconnected. So where the mind is going, the body is going to follow. So it's about what you're exposing yourself to, what you're not exposing yourself to. And then, as far as anxiety, which is a very heightened, exalted state in our consciousness, in our being, where we're very elevated, then we have to find things that are going to be counter that. We're going to have to look for things in our day-to-day practices, or create day-to-day practices that will have an opposite effect. A weighted blanket, taking a warm bath with certain essential oils like sandalwood oil, or lavender oil, or chamomile oil, nutmeg oil, things, something that is a bath. Connecting to nature and squatting down, really connecting to the earth, putting your hands in the dirt, in the soil. Doing physical exercises that are going to really allow you to feel weighted. So weighted exercises are very important. Yoga practices that hold poses longer and have more of a downward effect, where you're breathing more deeply into your diaphragm and breathing into your lower lobes of your lungs. Bringing that heightened state, which is a very exalted upward energy, into a more downward grounded energy. And, conversely, for the person that's struggling with depression, we need that downward heavy energy to move into an upward energy and a moving energy outwardly into whatever capacity. We've been restricted with COVID and connecting with other people and going out to fun places like restaurants and bars and clubs. But we can always get to the woods. You can always get to some hiking trail or some running trail or some bicycle or walking around the block. That's social distancing enough, as long as you're at least 6 feet apart from someone that you're walking down the street. Wear your mask, be outside, get some of the chill air. The chill air is very refreshing. If you're prone to being cold, then wear extra layers. And if you're prone to being hot, then go outside with just a hoodie, like I do. And, regulate yourself, but really find little things to connect with. Be resourceful. Be creative. Your health depends on it, because the more exalted you are, the more wear and tear, the faster it's going to degenerate your health and well-being. And the more lethargic you are, the more fatigued you are, the more tired you are, you're going to perpetuate this as well. And so both extremes are not healthy at all. Find that middle ground. Find a momentum. Connect with other people that can help motivate you to whatever degree you're needing, to wherever you are in that place within your consciousness. As I previously mentioned, in Ayurveda, the first line of medicine is food, is diet, ahara. Proper dieting includes portions, matra and kala, which is portions and timing. Keeping the timing pretty much the same every day, and the portions pretty much the same every day. If you're feeling heavier in your body because of the food content and mind content, then go lighter with the food. Have more soups and stimulating stews. And if you're more anxious, then have more grounding foods. And try to work with the diet within that context, but also max out to the point of, not even just max out, just find that point where you're about to max out with your food, just to when you're about to feel full, and stop eating. Either way, too much food for either case, or for anyone, doesn't matter, mental status, is not good. And the body will show you through symptoms. That's the way the body communicates, is through symptoms. And so monitoring all this, and then, once the food is properly established and food patterns are properly established, then understanding there could be supplements, and again, as I mentioned previously, it's unethical for me to suggest any specific herb or mineral or vitamin specifically as if I'm addressing you individually, because working with an Ayurvedic doctor or an Ayurvedic professional, we're trained to individualize the protocols. Not all herbs are created equal for each person. There is no one size fits all. And so herbs, such as ashwagandha and brahmi and jadamamsi or nutmeg or godakola or, passion flower and valerian roots and kava kava. Like there's so many beautiful herbs to manage that. Serotonin supportive supplements like 5-HTP and green tea extract. These are all amazing, but they may not all be perfect for you. And this is why it has to become optimized through an individualized process. And that's why it's important to work with someone who really knows what they're doing. And again, overdoing it on supplements is not the key either. The more you take, the less it's going to work. That's actually the folly of it. People think like, oh, the more I take of supplements, the better I'll feel. That's incorrect, because now you're replacing food with supplements, and that's not how we're meant to be. That's not how we're designed. Food, dietary practices, lifestyle practices, and supplements are just added as an adjunct to the lifestyle, not to replace the improper practices during the lifestyle. And I'll end on this one final note. It's always interesting that people want the end result to feel good, right? It's like watching an athlete and getting the trophies. But when you ask an athlete, do they do it for the trophy? For the most part, they don't. Most of them, at least. It's the process, and it takes work. And once you get into this groove of having done this work to establish this level of homeostasis, then it becomes easier. But if you're starting at the very bottom of the ladder, then of course it's going to seem daunting and overwhelming and uninteresting at that point. Then, just unplug. You have to really be adherent and disciplined and committed to the process. And that's even when you're working with a professional such as me. Because if you're not committed, then I can't commit. But, I don't have the magic pill. There is no magic pill. And so it's up to you really to take full responsibility, self-reliability, self-accountability, having someone guide you through the process and to remind you of patience and presence as much as possible. So I hope this is helpful, and feel free to private message me. I'm teaching also yoga classes, therapeutic Ayurvedic yoga classes, Tuesdays and Fridays. Actually, this week it's going to be Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and then I will be resuming class at the beginning of January. So feel free to message me, and I look forward to supporting you in your health and wellness and well-being and contentment, and have a great, amazing solstice and rest of the day.